Hello, everyone. So this is our first trial, uh, kind of trial episode for a podcast that Tushar and myself have been thinking of doing for maybe like last 10 days or maybe like 2 weeks. And हम लोग सोचे कि uh, let's just start it and देखते हैं क्या होता है और the thing is I actually was saying to Tashar कि I want to do something. I'm in that stage of life where I want to do something more, something creative, something, and suddenly तुम बोले कि अरे why don't we start a podcast. uh,
Because like I know you, right? Like that's the background. We've known each other for 20 years. Uh,
uh,
or matlab historically, uh, when you've spent that much time with each other, you know how the other person sort of goes about things. So
uh,
Snehansh is uh, a dreamer. So essentially, ideas, thoughts, concepts, uh,
uh, uh.
all along over the whole journey. I don't know how many ideas he would have had. So like my point was ki let's make one of them
One of
uh,
them.
a
True.
reality, right?
Yeah.
तो मैंने बोला कि चलो फिर no matter whether it's half baked or thought through कैसा भी होता है, let's
Uh,
just get one
something started.
uh, a podcast under our belt, right? Let's just get
Uh,
started. So, and that's why like a bit ad hoc, unplanned. We,
uh. So
just
on this idea, whether you said it or whether no, I read about it after, actually just after we discussed that we should do something like this. A quote from Rumi. Rumi was like a philosopher or some,
yeah,
I
yeah,
actually I don't know too much of the background of Rumi, but
yeah,
I've seen social media quotes, and then one of it was a really poignant quote which said ki if you tread on a path, the path will appear. Like the path
yeah,
will appear. You just have to if you take few steps, that the path will appear.
yeah, yeah,
Which is actually very true if you think कि जैसे कि fog है पूरा and तुमको लग रहा है कि अरे कहीं जा नहीं सकते हैं, धीरे धीरे you start walking and the path appears. So
yeah.
sometimes you have to just start, and where things will go you don't know.
Yeah, and like it is also like you have a vision in your mind, I think,
Huh.
and when you're walking along that path, things become
Hmm.
crystallized in a way, right?
Exactly.
So, well, yeah, this is an attempt
This
at
is
that. So,
so. I'll tell you कि over the last week I have been thinking about authenticity
yeah,
because we were discussing कि we were discussing a little bit, and this is my flaw that I start imagining and start having, where is this gonna go, what is it gonna become. um and your was like, okay, let's just get started, which is, so I guess in that way it's complementary, but also when we were discussing ki, how we should do it, will we throw in some masala words or some, क्या कहते हैं, clickbaits in here, and then we discussed that we want it to be authentic because um, you want to make it feel like you're doing something good, like it's like when you're catching up as friends, you're not looking at the bottom line all the time. Like you're not doing it because of some bottom line ki isse paisa milega. So you're just doing it for fun. And if in life it's like, I always say ki if you're doing in life, if you're doing something, if you're not having fun, then what's the point of it? Now, sometimes hard work can also be fun, like because you're aiming towards a bigger goal. So
yeah,
that
the the
becomes a
the, the journey
the
journey is
journey
as much
the
fun as
journey
the
fun. So if you're
outcome.
aiming for something which is big, and so it can be hard, but it's still within that box of fun, because at the end of it you're going to enjoy it, or even during the process you're enjoying the process of the hardship. um I was there. I mean, like literally, मेरे एक resident like who I was teaching, I was telling him कि we were talking about Ozempic, कि why, whether we should have Ozempic for weight loss, and I was like, you know what, I don't want to take it because what's the fun? Like the fun is actually in the process. Even if I don't achieve that goal of, let's say, six pack abs or incredible aesthetically pleasing body, at least the process of it. So he was saying, uh, so, so and then the other argument I was making, if somebody just comes and hands you an Oscar right now, will it mean anything to you? It will not, because it's just a piece of metal. But if there was if there was a meaning behind it because of the work or effort or sweat and tears that you've put into it, um, it will be more relevant to that. You know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I totally agree, Usme, in terms of
hmm,
making an effort that
hmm,
that makes the
hmm,
outcome more rewarding. Sometimes you don't
huh,
get there, but it's still fun.
huh,
uh, but also, like, I wouldn't necessarily judge
hmm,
why,
hmm.
if someone is taking it, to each their own. Like, this is
To
one
each
thing I've
their
sort
own.
of I've
Ah,
realized that different people
ah,
enjoy different things. Some people
true.
like the outcome, and then that might be opening a path to something else,
Something else.
right?
Yeah.
So
Hmm,
in that sense,
hmm, 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 hmm.
no judgments
No judgment.
passed. But yeah, like, if you could get to the same result with some effort, I would take that path.
The faith. Huh,
um,
huh, huh, huh.
the grind.
Huh. And so coming back to authenticity, so coming back to the purpose of this and why I thought we should do it like this, because I was, like in the past I've thought about, oh, I should speak to a camera, do YouTube, या जो भी, uh, and but the problem is it didn't feel authentic, because why, I'll tell you. I mean, I'm not saying that authenticity can also be a fluid term. In some phases of your life it could be it feels inauthentic, while sometime you want to share more and it may feel, but the thing about this which I felt was authentic is like, oh, we catch up every so often anyway over kind of FaceTime and WhatsApp. And so the least benefit that we will have out of it, even if this bombs
Yeah,
completely,
yeah, we
would
just,
catching
yeah,
up,
sort of
right?
institutionalizing our chat.
Chat,
uh,
exactly. So, it's fun, it's
So
catching up.
authenticity, going on the point you raised about authenticity, like,
Hmm,
you said you've tried, recording videos,
huh,
instruction videos, and
huh, huh,
guidance videos for
huh,
students
huh,
and all these things
huh,
over
huh.
time. But I guess how this is different is that this is a conversation, right? Rather
Yes, it is
than you.
conversation. It's not very, like, it's not tailored towards to कि अच्छा ऐसे बोलेंगे तो वो ज्यादा क्लिक आ जाएगा या ज्यादा ये हो जाएगा. Like, I'll tell you the difference between authentic and inauthentic action and authentic action, let's say in a social media. So you may post something which you really felt because it was a beautiful thing that you wanted to share, and that's authentic. But then you looking at ki how many people liked my comments, and like how many likes you got is sort of inauthentic, because you have been drawn into the validation that may be needed in that. And we all suffer from, I mean, I do
So
suffer
I,
from
I
it.
I wouldn't call it suffering, I think so.
It's part of life.
It's part of life, right? There is no absolute truth in that sense, right? So we all seek validation. We try to
Yes,
become what
become, yeah,
society sort of
yeah,
admires. So
yeah,
likes are nothing but a virtual society's admiration, right?
yes,
So
yes,
I wouldn't say it is not not a worthy enough goal. What I would say is that should be an end objective. Like, you're aware of it, but you're not proactively chasing
you're
it.
not tailing. But that's what we were saying, and we were thinking that if your art or whatever you're putting out there in the world, if it's good enough, and good enough in the sense that if it's authentic enough, then hopefully it will find an audience. So in some ways, you don't ever have to check and chase or the likes. So you just keep putting out like your art out there or whatever, and you keep getting better at it, and your conversations are more fruitful, more like more deep, rather than like you impurifying it with कि oh what, उस वाले पे लाइक ज्यादा मिला था, अगर हम उस वाले चीज पे बात किए थे तो हम लोग को वो करना चाहिए, थोड़ा कंट्रोवर्शियल बोलना चाहिए, like and
ये देखो
you
ना,
can get
humans are meant to derive some feedback, right? Getting feedback is really important. अब उसमें the horizon has to be, you have to be wise enough
हाँ,
to adjust your horizon. कि मैं एक
yes,
चीज को
yes,
short term देख रहा हूँ, या I'm like just taking a
हाँ,
step back, कि you don't judge everything. Some things are part of the process, but you look at, oh, once you've done enough of it, where have you
हाँ,
gotten to, right? So,
हाँ,
like, for example, what people perceive our conversation is some part of that feedback loop,
हाँ,
and that is like, at some shape or
that
form, that is also one
also.
uh, target variable, right?
So this raises an interesting point. Ki I completely agree with you. Ki feedback is a part of because you also want to get better. So feedback is important, and in our career, I'm from the I'm a kind of medical career. Feedback is very important because you think that you're good in teaching. So even in teaching, you think that you give only feedback to students. But while I've been practicing in the Western world, the two students also give you feedback. Every session, the student gives feedback. How did they like the teaching session? So you change. You have to evolve based on oh, this didn't work with that audience or student, or you may so the feedback. So that's an important point, like you said, key. And in social media, what's happening is you're getting this feedback on a mass scale, like across.
Yeah, how do you filter
So how
the,
how do you filter out?
content from the noise?
Yes, like how do you differentiate between, because I also feel that humans, if they're giving genuine feedback, so that's like you can genuinely grow. But humans also have a propensity to be negative and fickle and clickbaity, like being attracted to inauthentic stuff. Like I will click on a, like I might not click on a philosophy like which may grow me as a person. Like it's very famously Netflix, when it started, it used to ask people to rate uh, movies. So like
Yeah,
it will put up like कौन सा मूवी था स्टीवन स्पील्सबर्ग का फेमस वाला Schindler's List, and so it will put up like Jurassic Park, and so everyone will rate ki ha Schindler's List 10 on 10. And so it used to try to show people based on what they have said as highly rated. But when they saw
it
what
didn't
they were
attract
actually
them.
watching,
Yeah,
no, what they were
yeah,
actually watching was like rom-coms and
yeah.
silly comedies. So entertainment, so this is becomes important key. What is authentic and what is inauthentic is also like a very nebulous thing, because how you should receive is like, okay, let's say you put this out there and like, oh, this worked, so why did it work? But then you also have to kind of be sure ki you are not your path is not going down the wrong route of chasing clicks, chasing views, chasing in the sense that you start saying things which are not like
Yeah,
but
yeah.
also
It's not from
but
the heart. It's not from the heart. Like
huh
there has to be a little bit. There has to be a little bit of structure, and a little
huh
bit of heart,
huh
right?
huh
But more heart than
more hard
our objective is like it should be more
huh
real. Like we don't have an agenda when we are talking most of the time.
there's
It
no
just
agenda.
flows, right? So
But change is also a big part of. I also this is where my mind starts, like I very famously Jivika will say I always try to think from both points of view. So I'm like, I have left wing views, but I understand right wing. Actually, very, even if I have a little bit of center left kind of, or maybe you can say even more left kind of views, I will, you will see me gravitating towards complete far right views. because I want
Mm.
to understand them. I want to understand that ki
Yeah.
are not these people are not insane in the sense that they are not schizophrenic or yeah, they have held these or they are holding these opinions because of some really in to who to them it feels logical.
Yeah, and
So
it's just very simply like, if 25% of people are belong to, let's say, left, 25% right. I mean, 25% of people in the world cannot really be purely wrong, right? So
yes,
there has to be
yes.
some there has to be some logic, and it's always good to be open-minded to understand things from others' perspective. I think this
But
is
I do
actually
think they
one of
can
the
be wrong. I
one of
do
no
think
they
that
can
they
no what I'm saying is, yeah, they can be wrong. From our perspective, everyone is wrong in some parts of their view, right?
huh
So it's about, like, you think, oh, they are 60%. This is one very good way to be
hmm,
open-minded, by the way. You
huh
probabilistically assign the
hmm,
chance of someone being right or wrong. Then you are not saying, oh, he's right or wrong. It's like, oh, there's a good chance, there's 80% chance that he might be wrong. There's a
huh
chance that he's wrong in 80% of his views,
views. Acha,
right? But 20% is correct, right?
correct.
So then, when you give someone a little bit, even a little, even if someone you don't absolutely
Credibility.
don't like, some credibility, that sparks open-mindedness, right?
Ah,
So,
ah,
and for me, one of the, like, over the last 4 or 5 years, since I feel like
hmm,
I've grown,
hmm,
this is a big learning,
hmm,
personal growth,
hmm,
which is, how do you genuinely be receptive to others' view. Now,
hmm.
initially when it started, it was more about, oh, just say yes to someone and then but something,
But
right?
huh.
But that's really not open-mindedness.
Ah,
Open-mindedness is going into a conversation, being
ah.
really open to changing your view, right?
Yes,
Like
exactly,
going in
exactly.
there thinking, oh, maybe I learned something, maybe I'm wrong, maybe what I was trying to suggest is
Yeah, yeah,
not
yeah.
correct. If you go in with that point of view, I think you're going in
True, true,
open-minded
true.
way. So I guess that is another, like, authenticity you mentioned is one.
Hmm, hmm.
Open-mindedness could be
Is
another
could be
part of
another one.
our
Hmm, hmm.
and of course we're making these things up as we are chit-chatting, because for us this is a process.
बकचोदी करने में हम लोग कभी भी पीछे नहीं रहे हैं नहीं
So, uh,
हाँ so अच्छा ये बताओ तो we talked about motivation the motivation of this part this kind of thing हाँ so we were saying कि at minimum we'll catch up and it would
yeah.
be kind of good fun to just catch up कि क्या होगा and second would be like we can even have some personal growth so we can say कि let's read a book like let's discuss about this book or let's discuss about this if there's some interesting news which may be relevant to your field or my field, so you could do some research on it and you could discuss that. Or if you traveled somewhere, to acha batao, tell me about the history where you went there, tell me about that. So you can dig into a little bit of the culture, history. So that's the second advantage. Even so, this is irrespective of whether or not this were to ever fly off or not. है ना?
Yeah, definitely, like catching up, and kuch there like there's a joy in learning, right? So
हाँ हाँ
essentially, like, sharing experiences, and then what happens is, even if, let's say, you say, oh, we're just going to discuss the last week, right?
हाँ
The
हाँ
last week, the conversation will start with one thing and it will go and, like, I don't know, maybe settle 20 years ago,
going to other
some
thing.
story, right?
हाँ
And therefore, like, it is catching up is a very, open
हाँ
ended route in that
हाँ
sense. So we could even be like, okay, we do a weekly one where we chit chat a little bit about the recent things, what we did, and then it just opens up into anything. Uh,
हाँ
that could be one direction. Although, like,
good.
what we discussed is we could often have certain topics which sort of anchor us, and there are quite a
Anchor
few to start with,
start with
but they will probably naturally just flow into our conversations. Uh,
into new episodes. तो अच्छा ये बताओ. So next question I had was कि we are still thinking about what we will name this. podcast. Has
Yeah.
have you come up with some ideas, something that has जैसे तुमको लगा है कि
Naming
हाँ
is not something I'm good at. Like, and naming my two sons
that's
was
what I was just gonna say.
was one
The
of the
kind of
hardest things that we sort of went through, and like
I know the kind
it's
of ordeal you guys went with your first son.
and then yeah. So,
That,
but yeah, eventually I think we managed to do a good job.
uh,
But that said, I think I will leave the ideation of names to you.
uh, so I have thought ki, say, on the concept of long distance relationships because I actually did a long term relationship with my wife, now wife, for a long time. So, so it's a concept that can resonate with a lot of people in terms of relationships, but we don't think of friendship as long distance. But a lot of us, who have lived in India and have gone abroad, and so we are all kind of scattered in different places. So, so long distance friendship could be something that could resonate. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
I feel. Um, or but we can think about it after and see what I think sometimes you have to just like when our cat Simba came, we were thinking about a lot of names for him, and actually we had narrowed it down to three, four, and then when we saw him, it was like, oh, he's a like Simba, so
yeah,
so
yeah,
that's how we kind of came to the name. So next thing I was gonna say, okay, let's reveal to the audience ki, a little bit of our background.
yeah,
So, uh, my wife is preparing for her interviews a question, which basically the first question, usually in any interview, they will ask you is, "Tell me about yourself."
yeah, yeah.
So, we've been working on that. तो उसी theme पे तुम बताओ कि you can start off.
Okay. Uh, I guess I'll talk about myself in the context of our relationship. Uh,
Sure.
so sort of our paths crossed. When was it? 2003, 4, right?
हाँ,
2003.
2003,
So it's been
2003.
20 plus years, right? When we were in hostel
Uh, uh,
together.
uh,
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 and and like those 2 years together in the hostel, that was quite a fun experience to begin with, right? And we sort of
crazy, huh?
still
Gravitate towards that, huh?
gravitate towards that every now and then. Still have a big group of friends from that time. Uh,
Mm,
so and like in a way, when we were there, it was about the
mm.
objective was to get a job, to get into a
Huh,
university, right?
huh,
But
huh.
that sort of became the second objective, right? Like the real journey was the fun that you're having
Fun and
with friends
mahal
there.
is created, huh?
uh,
Mm,
but anyways, like, so Snehansh went into medicine. I was into engineering, and then from then on, sort of.
mm.
Somehow, like, these were the paths that our parents set for ourselves to that extent, right? So my dad told me, okay, you should not become a doctor, even though I wanted to, because all my friends were becoming doctors. He said, like, it's too hard for you, so you won't be able to get through the studies. So like, okay, let me find the easier path. So engineering, and then MBA, and then got into finance, and have been
Huh,
working in the field of finance for the last 15 years.
mm,
uh, the first time got out, left India, was probably what, 22, 23 years old.
mm,
uh,
mm,
so not
mm,
really a lot of international exposure, but I think in
mm.
in a way, sort of once you go out, it doesn't take a long time to sort of catch up to what the
Yeah.
culture outside of India is, whether it is Asia, Singapore, or UK, London, or spending time in US.
Mm, mm,
So
mm,
uh, so that's sort of my background, field of finance. But I guess what is
mm,
what still differentiates, or not differentiates, like that's a proper interview
mm.
answer, but like what is unique ye hai ki it's like really about friends for me everywhere.
Ah, mm, mm.
Anywhere I've been, it is about the group of friends that I hang out with,
Yeah.
and the connection I have. And of course, eventually get married
Mm.
and your wife becomes a friend
Uh,
also, which
uh,
is, one of
uh.
the greatest compliment that you can give to a
Give to your
wife.
wife.
Uh, so
Uh,
that's probably the defining factor, I would say.
and then I actually got sucked into your friends group as well when when we met in the hostel during 11th 12th, and then obviously I went into medicine where our and then after so in Delhi we used to obviously catch up when you were doing your university, so had a lot of crazy times during that. Remember like driving fast in the night during around India Gate
Yeah,
um, and during the festivals of Pulse in Ames, and what is the other one?
the IT
Uh,
one was rendezvous,
uh,
but
Rendezvous,
like,
yeah, yeah. So we had
yeah,
so many fun times then. But then after that, then when we finished university, then we made a couples trip to Europe. So
yeah,
that was our kind of first time catching up after kind of university. That
yeah,
was like a two week long trip because we both had wanted to go to Europe and had heard things about Europe, from DDLJ to so Western Europe mainly. So we did that, and then I had moved to the UK after doing my medicine, and then you guys came over to move to London as well. So it was good that we spent time there. What, around 7 years, 8 years?
yeah. I think we spent a long time
Seven,
in
eight
UK.
years,
You were
yeah.
in mostly uh,
Liverpool first,
Liverpool
and
first,
and
Oxford later.
then later we were in Oxford, so kind of came and saw you guys more. So, acha. So now the other question I had was, ki, how strict are we going to be with the timing of this podcast, and what time do you roughly want to keep it every time?
I think we just keep it open. Some days the conversation is flowing. It just, extends into any topic. We just, I don't even know so much about this video editing and all these things, right? So
So I
maybe,
don't, I to keep it again authentic or whatever, as I was saying, or maybe just being lazy. I want to post these things without a lot of without any editing. It's similar to
yeah,
what my Bedu does with his YouTube channel, where he's obviously not a YouTuber in the sense of traditionally video editing. So he just runs half an hour. So all his clips are like 30, 31 minutes, 32. Like, so he will run for that 5K and then upload the entire video.
yeah,
Um, and so I would want to do something similar. Like, it's just a random chat, catching up every week. There's no editing, there's no bullshit like
yeah,
catchy
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
People may enjoy our conversations. They might
yeah,
relate to what we are saying.
yeah,
They may not. They may judge us. They may. uh,
yeah.
maybe I think
Opening
so I
yourself to public scrutiny.
uh, I think 45 minutes should be the ideal because just say we are at 28 minutes and 30. Okay. So I feel like 30 minutes will be like a Seinfeld episode.
Yeah.
And 45 minutes is where you can still kind of
Seinfeld could be a good theme for our conversations.
actually one
Uh,
day we should
no, no, no. What I mean is Seinfeld show, the
huh,
pilot, when they presented it, it was supposed to be a show about nothing. That's how they pitched
huh,
it.
pitch it.
So our chat could be a chat about nothing.
Nothing. What about this name? The chat about nothing. Podcast about nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
Huh? Podcast about
Chat.
nothing.
Yeah.
Huh? That is a good point that we
Theory of nothing.
nothing. Theory of nothing. You see, people are always trying to reach theory of
Yeah,
everything, right?
yeah, yeah,
theory
yeah,
theory of nothing is a good one. I like that.
yeah.
I like that. Theory of nothing. I'll write it down. Theory of nothing and podcast about nothing. Something like that. Okay. So sorry, एक second. तो और बताओ. So we have now a WhatsApp group where we kind of are like throwing ideas. So, what are the kind of things you have in mind that you think that we will chat about? What are the things that come to your mind? Ki, okay, you know what, this would be good to discuss, or this would be the um, like what kind of growth you're looking in it in yourself?
I would like a little bit of information and a little bit of, let's say, philosophy, right? Mix of the two. So
Okay.
let's say we could discuss at some point we could discuss our experiences, right? So
Mm-hmm.
uh, experiences within our professional field, but
Mm-hmm.
also like philosophically, what does it take to succeed in that field, right? How do you,
Okay. Mm.
the principles with which you approach your
Okay.
profession, right? That's sort
Okay.
of, so that's a philosophical
Mm.
overview of something informative about,
Mm.
like
Mm.
uh, developments in your field and like
Mm.
and your
Mm.
experiences over time.
Mm.
Uh,
Mm.
that's one. And then sometimes it could be, these
Mm.
are the informative ones. Sometimes it could be just, chit chat about a
Chit
topic
chat.
in the world. We read
Mm.
something, we read an article, heard a
Mm.
podcast discussing, uh,
Mm.
you know, a podcast about podcasts. Uh,
Like an inception, huh?
yeah. So, uh,
इसके बारे में, this is the one thing I find really funny about social media. When people give reactions to something, like,
yeah,
kuch go,
yeah,
and that reaction actually becomes more famous or
yeah,
more popular than actual video. And I'm like, what's
yeah,
happening with the world?
yeah.
So, Acha, the one thing I actually wanted to ask you, we can do a bit of discussion about it, was, throughout your life now, what are some core kind of principles that you have formed for yourself, or sometimes like I would say like core ideology, yeah, core, um, I guess core thing, like, that kind of grounds you, key, this is your kind of ground zero, like, I believe like this is what spurs me on, yeah. तो ऐसा कुछ है, like ऐसा कुछ तुम सोचे हो कभी, ऐसा कभी?
Uh, like I think what uh, drives me is uh, focus.
Competition.
I think no, just not. It used to be competition, like getting better than others. That's what like
Mm,
our parents
mm,
have always
mm,
taught you. And
mm,
then there's everything is objective
mm, 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 mm,
uh,
mm, mm,
in terms of marks and grades and everything. But
mm.
over time, you realize that life is more subjective, right? So
Sure.
then essentially not trying to solve something, but asking what are the
Mm-hmm,
right questions to ask, what are the right
mm-hmm.
things to solve for, right? So
Okay.
just go. So I feel like that is where, so initially it was about trying to be uh, intelligent, and later it sort of evolves into trying to be wise in
Mm-hmm,
that sense, right? And
mm-hmm,
in the same vein, I sort of felt that the middle path, not necessarily the middle path, but there is merit of everything, right? You
mm-hmm,
have a natural bias of being a certain way, but it
mm-hmm.
can't be too lopsided. So,
True.
especially if you realize, oh, okay, let's say someone is always moving, always active.
Mm.
For them, it is important, okay, you be, instead of being moving 100% of the time, bring it down to 90, bring
Yeah,
10%
bring
time
less,
for the other thing, right? So
relaxing.
essentially, yeah, so that
So
has
following the
become,
middle path.
yeah, so it's, I wouldn't necessarily call it.
Path. बीच में कटा, एक मिनट कटा तुम्हारा, आवाज नहीं आ रहा है।
Sorry. uh,
हाँ हाँ, बोलो बोलो,
uh,
आ गया। हाँ,
so like moving a
you would
little
call
bit
it
away
middle path.
from the extremes.
हाँ, okay.
So that is something lately I've started realizing, because like I was a certain way, my
Hmm.
wife was a certain way, and then uh,
Hmm.
eventually with Ruchita sort of
Hmm. Hmm.
realized that you know
Hmm.
eventually I learned that her style was better, but it
Better.
took me a while. So then
While
what
to
I
get.
did is I just incorporated a little bit of her style into mine. So I
Uh,
retain my individuality, but also bring in other
uh.
things.
But parenthood, like fatherhood, must have been a big contributor to that. To be willing to change, I think
Oh
must
yeah,
be
fatherhood is huge because
uh,
then I think you start feeling the uh, you know
necessity to change.
responsibility, but also the connection, and you are trying to be the
Mm.
best way to be better uh, is to be an example for others, right? So
Yes.
the fact that you
Yeah.
want to set a good example makes you want to be better. Same
Mm.
as like in, let's say, if you want to learn something, try and
Mm.
like be a teacher,
Mm.
right?
Mm. Mm.
So because then you'll be challenged the most when you're trying to explain a simple
Plain.
thing to someone. You'll realize
One.
everything breaks down. You don't, like, if you don't know
You
the
don't
absolute
understand
depth
it
of it,
well. Uh,
yeah, your knowledge sort of breaks down. So
uh,
I don't know, similar or dissimilar, but like with parenting, it's a bit like that. You are becoming better by, in a way, leading by example.
example. Hmm. No, you're right. You're right. Me over time, like one of the, I used to I used to struggle with key, like the way I am, and I need I feel like sometimes I'm like a robot. So I need a goal. I need, like, I don't know, my mind works like like algorithm. So growing up, I didn't even know key what am I doing? Why am I doing? Um, and so, but because I've had a little bit of a, I don't know why, thoda sa logic oriented, and that has over time developed more, I would say. So I needed a purpose which felt like, or at least something that I can say is, I can always kind of relate to. And so one thing that appealed to me, I was watching some philosophy lectures, and one that appealed to me was the concept of eudaimonia. So it's like an ancient Greek philosophy, and was conceptualized by Aristotle. And the idea is ki, um, trying to be the best version of yourself at every moment of time. And that best version is not an objective thing. Like, it cannot be defined by 10 commandments or rules. Like, what is best at certain moment is for you to figure out, but there is a best at that moment.
Yeah.
And so every moment is your pursuit to try to be able to try to reach that perfect choice, the perfect goal, the perfect decision that you can make at that moment of time. And so basically the example, and he said he said that in any situation it's like the perfect mean, or the golden mean. So he said, like, let's say there is a robbery being happening in front of you. So you could either be like really brave and you can go and try to fight the thieves and, courageous, but in the process you could get killed or hurt someone or other people get hurt. Or you could be like a coward and completely run away. It's like nothing to do with me. But you can be balanced. So you can, the
Yeah.
golden mean is like, you assess the situation. Okay, is it safe? You maybe hide somewhere, make the call to the police, and just make sure the situation is dealt with as best as. So that is the best course of action, essentially. And so, in some ways, I mean, eudaimonia is a concept of like pursuit of excellence, or like, I
How do
think of
how
it
do
as.
you how would you contrast that with just living the moment? And so, okay, there's a mix of two. We discussed this, right? I call it the zoom in, zoom out principle.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh, essentially, living in present is just zooming into the now, and
Yes.
zooming out is just planning a little bit of the future. So
Yes.
when you have to take a decision, you're like thinking far ahead. The farther you think and break
Hmm.
it down into what the right decision for
Yes.
now is, it's a very thinking concept versus a
Yes.
very living or a present concept is, uh, you know, just in the moment, enjoying a
like a
very
more
small,
like a more
yeah,
vain thing. Yeah.
yeah, enjoy. No, no, not even the vain thing. Like just sitting next to
Yeah.
newborn and enjoying his laughter, for example, right?
So I completely agree with that, and this is one of my favorite quotes from John Lennon of Beatles was that the the time that you enjoy wasting is not time wasted.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Live
So
by that.
so so I live by that. Like, so what I'm trying, what I'll tell you the difference. So I live by those things. I would value, like, any money, any success is not worth it if you cannot do the stuff with your family, friends. And I actually, Roy Keane is another. He was a footballer, and I watch football a bit. Like, so usme he was also like in one of the recent conversation. It was like there's no point of money if you can't make time for your friends. Like, you can be very so so I do feel that you need to have that kind of um you need to have that awareness if it is something that matters to you. Like, there can be people for whom it doesn't matter, like, who do not enjoy that, and that's fine. Like, they are the way they are. So so you need to, but what the difference that I what so I say that even if you choosing to rest or choosing to enjoy, that decision should be an active choice. And I say to Jivika, my wife, a lot of the times that I can very honestly feel, uh, I say that I'm switched on or switched off. And I want to be switched on all the time, but switched on doesn't mean that I'm like working my ass off all the time. Switched on only means that I'm locked in, or so even if I'm resting, even if I'm
You're able
watching a
to
movie,
observe yourself from a third
I'm
person.
aware.
Yeah.
I'm
Aware. Yeah.
aware of what I'm doing, and my resting is an active choice
Yeah.
rather than. So I hate when I have wasted a day and I don't feel refreshed even,
Yeah.
because I have just whiled away time, or I've just scrolled through. And it's a bit about, like, I think there's a lot of things that I was trying, like, being, you know authentic in doing authentic stuff and inauthentic stuff, doing things which I feel are pure and things which are not pure, being switched on and being switched off, things that resonate with me versus things that do not. So, like, doing this feels authentic, it resonates because I'm like, okay, enjoying conversation, doing something productive as well, but it's casual conversation. It's, it doesn't have. But if I'm like just wasting time, so, but sometimes I will watch reels where I
Yeah.
am trying to actually watch some good comedy clips, so
Yeah.
that is fine. But sometimes I'm
It's
like,
what this is the mindlessness is what you don't like.
mindlessness, I don't,
So
so that is
essentially
unaware,
nothing, just unaware. You took your phone out and you scroll something and saw what happened. So
so,
and I know, like on a practical front, this is what I observed as well. And Ruchita doesn't like me using phone too much, etc. So what I realized, it's not the time, it's not the screen time which is a problem. It's the pickups
the
which is a
mind,
problem. The pickups.
ha
So in your
ha
Apple's phone screen time, they'll
ha
also show you pickups.
it's like
So
oh, pickup.
essentially,
So I
yeah,
didn't.
number of times you pick up the phone, right, and
Oh,
open. So I was like, okay, I don't need to cut the screen time necessarily. I just
but
need
to
to
pick
be
up,
aware. Now is my time for phone. I sit down on a chair,
ha
take my
ha,
phone and watch it.
and then watch
Lie
it,
down. I'm aware
ha
that
ha.
I'm spending time on the phone.
Time on the
So
phone,
this is the
exactly.
difference, right? Being
Yes, yeah.
mindful versus just doing
Versus,
it mindlessly.
yeah. And I have noticed, because obviously these algorithms are very addictive now, that sometimes I will open and then obviously they suck you in, and then you're watching one after the other. And then I started off aware, but then
Yeah,
I became like,
that's the second challenge, right? Like the first one is just
ha
taking the phone out, the urge to
ha
take to do
ha.
something. And the
And then
second
I
is,
wasted, like, so I wanted, if you had asked me at the beginning, I would have been like, okay, I would want to do for 5 minutes. But then you get sucked into it, and then you're like, oh, so I don't like the mindlessness. So, that's where, what were we talking about before this? So we were talking about, uh,
no,
oh,
you're
so
talking
you
about
guys
how
want, yeah,
you want to take
ha,
decision being aware.
ha. So eudaimonia. So basically, on a practical level, you were saying ki what does it mean to be relaxed? So
Mm.
so I completely. It doesn't mean that I have to be productive and doing some stuff all the time. It just means that I'm aware. I'm making the right decisions for me at that moment, for me, my family, for things
That
that I
is
care about
huge.
at that moment of time.
Yeah,
And that's
that
just
is yeah, this is a basic thing that all of us should be focused on,
uh, uh,
right?
uh,
This is
uh,
just a basic thing of being aware. And
aware.
unfortunately, like, let's say we are aware
Mm.
that we do this wrong,
Wrong.
but we still can't fix it, right? So
But
imagine
having
for someone who's
insight
not
is
even aware.
aware. So having an insight is also like one victory, one step ahead. And I say to Jivika, change basically happens in three levels. Basically, I can three stages. You can three kind of broad categories. So I take example of my dad, my brother, and myself. कि एक है my dad who may have some behavioral things which he's not even aware of. He doesn't want to acknowledge, doesn't have insight. Next, second is my brother who has behavioral things, but he has insight but cannot change, is not able to change, and he realizes that it's very hard to change. I am the same. I have insight. I want to change, but still, like the change itself is the difficult part because you still get drawn into your
Yeah,
natural behavior. And then
yeah,
the fourth stage would be like you really are able to make the change and become a different like
yeah,
you so
yeah.
in so insight, so all of that. But
Yeah, I think like there's no necessary need for perfection, like
huh
just doing a little bit less of what you don't need to do is good
hmm,
enough, right? Like
hmm,
if I'm
hmm.
aware, at least it drops things down by a little bit. And then you're like, okay, slowly you're constantly checking yourself. You don't have to totally abandon
Oh
uh
yeah, yeah, you have to
doing that,
make
but
change
like as long
slow
as you,
changes.
yeah, as long as you like moved in the right direction, I think that that is good
so
enough.
so Anku Bhaiya has a saying, uh which I have started relating to now. So because we were doing half marathon last year together, so we were discussing a lot about zones. So like your heart rate goes into these different zones. So anything, everyone will have slightly different based on there, but generally like anything above 160 to 70 would be like zone 5,
Yeah.
140 to
Whoop
160
has
would
that
be.
as well, right? Do you wear Whoop?
Ah,
So
I know.
Whoop's on
I'm just on
Apple
simple
Watch.
watch. So 140 to 60 is I think zone 4, then 120 to 140 is I think zone 3, then 110, something like that. Anyway, so he was saying that a lot of your training should happen actually in zone 1 or zone 2, almost like walking level. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh no, if you don't push yourself. So a lot of my past running and stuff I've done is like, but it does affect you because in the sense you push yourself a little bit more, so it's okay, but you may have a negative association with it. And so long term, for any long term change, if you do things just on a zone 2 level, and so now we have talked we talk about the zone 2 in anything, like zone 2, like this is like a zone 2 in podcasting. We are not aiming to make a
Yeah.
YouTube clip and video
Yeah.
and
And you
all.
just have to do the zone one, zone two for longer.
Longer,
Essentially, essentially, we feel like zone
consistency.
five for 10 minutes, five
huh,
minutes is
huh.
you have to do 40 minutes of zone two.
It's like
But
kachua.
yeah, but that's
कछुआ
the more
कछुआ वाला
effective
चीज
one.
जाता है हाँ.
Uh-huh.
So you keep doing, you inculcate it, it becomes part of your life. And I have seen, I thankfully being with Jivika, with my wife, so many things that were so wrong with me like 10 years ago, like
Yeah, we all know a lot of things that are
where
wrong with us. With thankfully, our wives don't have filters, which
wives,
many of the friends, even the best of friends, will not point out anything that will hurt you. Like, which we
they will
ideally
encourage
should.
it. अरे साले और
Ah,
पियो और सुट्टा मारो.
yeah, but
तो like there's so many things. जैसे हमको मीठा का अभी भी है. I mean, I have weakness, like,
yeah. Mm,
but the drastic, like, if I compare myself to what I was 10 years ago, I used to eat like two Kit Kat chunkies every day,
I
and like,
remember. I remember your tech box used to be the star of the hostel
uh,
star.
oh, and like all those deliveries आता था घर से, like, of
अच्छा ये बताओ कि हमारा ये
हम्म।
पॉडकास्ट पहले शेयर किसके साथ होगा? अब मेरे को नाउ आई एम फीलिंग द सोशल एंजाइटी कि
पहले तो अपने वाइफ्स को दिखा दे, बट आई डोंट
अ,
थिंक दे केयर टू वॉच द होल वन
हाँ भाई
एपिसोड।
ना, मेरे को लगता है कि देखो अपने ही दोस्त लोग कोई नहीं देखेंगे, मेरे को लगता है कि दुनिया क्यों देखेगा?
तो आई वाज थिंकिंग कि, so what I was thinking of doing to get a little bit of traction, and let's see, and so that it also helps us, तो कपा डायरीज जो मेरा इंस्टाग्राम है,
हम्म
उसमें भी आई टैग यू, लाइक टीके
हम्म
सिंह जो तुम्हारा पर्सनल वाला है।
हाँ
सो जैसे कर सकते हो ना, लाइक कि वो जैसे
हाँ हाँ
हाँ, टैग करके कि दिस इज डन टुगेदर विथ दिस। And then I was thinking, just because that's like more of a public platform, and I have actually, because Jivika is not that interested in it at the moment. She's gonna go through residence. She's doing the grind. So I have
हाँ
taken, like, I've just slowly changed it in anticipation of this podcast. He made it like a creative studio of wordy doctor. मतलब मेरा जो personal, so it's
हाँ
my
हाँ
creative outlet.
yeah
So my the way I was thinking about it. So initially I had thought we should have a separate, obviously a separate, but until we decide the name and a little bit of brand, whatever we want to do, until we start our own Instagram handle, I was thinking let's post on Kappa Diaries and tag you, and let's see what happens. The only problem is going to be that I don't think Instagram allows more than 15 minutes
हाँ
upload.
yeah
So we'll have to see. बट अभी चलो चलो रिकॉर्ड करके देखते हैं। यूट्यूब पे तो आई थिंक इट वुड बी फाइन। यूट्यूब पे तो आई कैन अपलोड एंड देन मे बी पुट सम क्लिप्स ऑन, लाइक मे बी जस्ट पुट सम क्लिप्स, काट काट के कुछ कुछ छोटा मोटा क्लिप्स काट के डाल दे सकते हैं।
देखो I don't know this app whether that can make some clips here and there.
कुछ तो कर सकता, हाँ, कोई देखेगा तो खैर चलो, नहीं भी देखेगा तो कोई बात नहीं।
चलो अभी तो खैर अभी तो फॉर द टू स्टार्ट विथ तो हम लोग को 4-5 ऐसा रिकॉर्ड करना है बिफोर वी आर पोस्टिंग एनीथिंग राइट?
हाँ
कि
हाँ
तुम क्या सोच
हाँ,
रहे थे, ये डायरेक्ट डालने का तो अभी नहीं सोच रहे ना हम?
मतलब अगर कुछ अच्छा क्लिप्स हो गया तो डाल देखते हैं, अभी कम से कम
रुको पहले
रिकॉर्ड हो
पहले
गया।
पहले रिकॉर्ड कर लेते हैं इसको, फिर 4-5 कर लेते हैं। उसके
फिर
बाद
डालोगे?
हाँ तब तक थोड़ा
चलो,
फिनेस भी आ जाए शायद, ये वाला पता नहीं, ये
अच्छा
वाला।
ठीक है, तो कम से कम थोड़ा फीडबैक ले लेते हैं, नहीं कुछ कुछ लोग से।
हाँ फीडबैक
तो
लेते हैं।
फीडबैक लेके इनऑथेंटिक या ऑथेंटिक फीडबैक, यही समझना पड़ेगा।
हाँ चलो देखो
लेकिन अच्छा अच्छा,
मतलब
तुमको लेकिन भेजें कैसे ये वीडियो? हमको लगता है ये भेजना पड़ेगा
किसी
यूट्यूब पे ही
ऐप
क्या?
में शायद होगा या कुछ तो, देखते हैं क्या
अच्छा
तरीका है।
देखते हैं,
तुम
पहले
पहले अपना
रिकॉर्ड हो
बनाओ,
जाए।
तो लास्ट तो तुम भेजे थे 10 मिनट्स वाला, तो शायद वो इजियर राइट, ये तो दिस वुड बी।
10
अच्छा
मिनट
बाय द
तो
वे ये
देख,
इसमें 2 पार्ट्स में मेरे को दिखा रहा है, पहला वाला सेव हो गया है या क्या पता नहीं, 19 मिनट्स दिखा रहा है मेरे को ऊपर, तुम्हारे में पूरा है क्या?
नहीं मेरे को तो दिखा रहा है फिफ्टी
ठीक है
थ्री
ठीक है, क्योंकि
एटी
मेरा
ओ,
शायद
तो
कॉल आ
तुम्हारा जो
गया था एक
कटा
तो।
था, हाँ,
हाँ
कॉल जो कट गया,
तो
हाँ।
ठीक है तुम्हारे साइड, तो ठीक है तो फिर बढ़िया, तो परफेक्ट टाइम हो गया जितना सोचे थे।
53 मिनट हो ही गया है,
कैसे
ठीक है।
कैसे
कुछ कुछ ऐसे ही
साला
बकवास में तो कट ही गया,
मेरा तो,
हाँ।
हम इतना आगे एक्चुअली ना सोचे ही नहीं, तुम आगे का पूरा सोच रहे थे ना।
हाँ।
मेरा था कि अच्छा बाय द वे फॉर द सेक ऑफ ऑडियंस, हम लोग दोनों बिहार से हैं। अ, तो
अभी
वहाँ का भी,
बिहार में
अरे
इलेक्शन
बिहार
हुआ।
का इलेक्शन हुआ है,
सबको अभी
तो
हम ना पॉलिटिकल ये नहीं ये करते हैं,
हाँ हाँ
जबकि हम बोल रहे हैं कि हम लेफ्टिस्ट हैं।
हाँ, तो
This is another thing I wanted to discuss कि this is, I actually thought of a book title कि Caught Between Two Wings, ठीक
हम्म
है? Caught Between Two Wings as a book title, I had thought कि isn't it weird कि हम लोग जब मूव करते हैं, I mean maybe not relevant because you may be more conservative, but generally I have like left leaning views abroad in the kind of in American politics,
हाँ,
लिटिल
बट
बिट।
बिहार इंडिया के अंदर
बट
जाके
इंडिया के अंदर पूरा, बट
अ,
नॉट, आई मीन आई डोंट कंप्लीटली एग्री विथ अ लॉट ऑफ द राइट विंग ब्रेन वॉशिंग जो थोड़ा सा इंडिया
हाँ
में
वही ना
बहुत
यार,
ज्यादा हुआ है।
वो परसेंटेज टर्म्स में सोचो कि मतलब
हाँ।
इट इज कि अब डेवलपमेंट, अब राइट विंग इज नॉट नेसेसरीली डेवलपमेंट, राइट? लेफ्ट विंग वाला भी डेवलप करा सकता है ना,
कर सकते हैं, हाँ
क्यों नहीं कर
हाँ
सकता है?
हाँ हाँ
तो
हाँ
मतलब
हाँ।
व्हाट यू आर आफ्टर की ऑल्टरनेटिव डजंट डू डेवलपमेंट, ये वाला ऑल्टरनेटिव ये वाला डेवलपमेंट करा रहा है, तो यू आर
हम्म
चूजिंग
हम्म
समवन फॉर डेवलपमेंट। उसके
हम्म
तुम एक्सट्रीम व्यूज या स्ट्रॉन्ग या लैक ऑफ
हम्म
सेक्युलरिज्म और ये जो बाकी
हम्म
अगर
हम्म
एस्पेक्ट्स कुछ और
हम्म
देखते हो, तो यू
हम्म
कैन डिफर देयर, बट लाइक यू हैव
हम्म
टू चूज व्हाट इज मोर
हम्म,
इम्पोर्टेंट फॉर
या
बिहार का
हाँ।
जीडीपी। बिहार का जीडीपी
थर्ड
साला
वर्ल्ड का थर्ड वर्ल्ड।
हजार, हाँ, $1,000 पर कैपिटा भी नहीं है।
$1000
तो
तो बहुत हो जाएगा, $1000 तो
नहीं नहीं,
कितना
मतलब
हो गया?
इंडिया का समझ लो 4,000 होगा पर कैपिटा
नहीं,
जीडीपी।
$100 ना।
नहीं नहीं,
$100
हजार,
4000 रुपया
800,
होगा। हाँ।
$800 है बिहार का पर क्या, एनुअल है ना?
अच्छा अच्छा,
पर
एनुअल एनुअल, हाँ हम सोच
एनुअल है
रहे
ना?
थे।
तो
हाँ हाँ, सोचो ना,
तो
बाप रे बाप।
800 मतलब कितना हुआ? 60
बाप रे।
थाउजेंड, राइट? 60-70 थाउजेंड रुपीज
हम्म
एनुअल, मतलब 5,000,
हम्म,
एवरेज आदमी 5,000 रुपया कमाता है महीने का।
सोचो सोचो।
तो
हाँ हाँ, बट क्या
हाँ
होगा
चलो,
मतलब।
पॉलिटिकल भी होगा, एनीवेज गोइंग बैक, पॉलिटिकल भी करेंगे डिस्कस कभी। वो तो आ
पॉलिटिक्स
ही
भी
जाएगा, मतलब
करेंगे।
वो तो हमारा हल्का फुल्का तो मतलब
वो तो लाइफ का पार्ट ही है पॉलिटिक्स।
इंक्लिनेशंस या।
तो अच्छा, थोड़ा सा बस,
तो
बिकॉज वी आर गोना फिनिश, तो नेक्स्ट वीक हम लोग किस चीज के बारे में, मतलब कुछ ऐसा, क्या ट्रैवल वैवल, ट्रैवल में पे करते हैं, थोड़ा सा घुमाई फिराई के बारे में डिस्कस करते हैं, कहाँ कहाँ घूमे हो, क्या अच्छा लगा है, कहाँ तुम, कहाँ
हाँ
तुम्हारा मन अच्छा लगा, तुम बताओ कि कहाँ घूमे, हम बताएं कि क्यों वहां गए, उस कल्चर में क्या अच्छा लगा, इस टाइप का कुछ करेंगे, है ना?
हाँ, ट्रैवल मतलब दो तीन तो अभी अगला क्लियर ही है, अगर कोई
हाँ
टारगेटेड करना है तो ट्रैवल, मेडिसिन के बारे में, थोड़ा फाइनेंस वर्ल्ड के बारे में,
हाँ, तो तीन चार
अ,
तो है ही लाइन में, उसके बाद
और
द पाथ विल बिकम क्लियर व्हेन वी कीप वॉकिंग ऑन
हाँ हाँ
इट।
हाँ। कौन
रूमी
बोला
के
था ये?
हिसाब से,
रूमी।
रूमी। रूमी।
हम्म। थोड़ा
द
सा,
पाथ विल अपीयर।
थोड़ा अभी तक तो हम लोग इन्फॉर्मेशन ओरिएंटेड चीज कर नहीं रहे हैं, लेकिन अगर कुछ इन्फॉर्मेशन ओरिएंटेड करेंगे तो विल बी चैलेंज टू अप
तो
आवर
बोलेगा
गेम
भाई
आल्सो, राइट?
बट फिर ये भी होगा कि मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन स्प्रेड कर रहे हो, ये कर रहे
ठीक है,
हो।
अब कोई ये थोड़ी हमने कि ये थोड़ी बोला कि हम सारा इन्फॉर्मेशन करेक्ट होगा, वी आर डूइंग द बेस्ट वी
वेयर
कैन।
वी कैन, बस
और
हाँ, जो हम हैं
जो हम
हैं।
हैं, हाँ, बकचोदी में सच और झूठ नहीं होता है।
एक्चुअली उसमें तो और
इनफैक्ट
मसाला,
बकचोदी में तो मसाला तो
पूरा
होना ही
मसाला
होता है।
नहीं होता है, पूरा
हाँ,
मसाला लगा के।
मतलब मतलब ए, मतलब वो किसका था? एक
कौवा वाले में एक
आरके
कहानी था।
आरके पी में कोई जो एक फ्रेंड था कि
हाँ।
कभी दारू पी के गिर गया था, तो फिर उसका 3-4 दिन के अंदर घूम फिर के आया कि नाली में ही पड़ा हुआ था, नाली से लेके आए हैं उसको। तो
उसी में
वो
मजा
तो
आता है।
चाइनीज
हाँ,
विस्पर,
वही
देखिए
ना।
चाइनीज विस्पर नहीं है ये है अ,
है चाइनीज ही, मतलब एग्जैजरेशन, क्या कहते हैं, ट्रूथ
हाँ, कहानी
एग्जैजरेटेड।
बनाओगे तो थोड़ा सा एग्जैजरेट करके दूसरे, यार देखो इसमें इंटेंट तो
वैक्स
बहुत सही है ना,
उसमें।
दूसरे को मजा दिलाना है तुमको। तो दूसरे को मजा
हाँ।
दिलाना है तो थोड़ा तो बढ़ाओगे, फिर वो थोड़ा
कुछ
और
कुछ
बढ़ाएगा
कुछ
तो और
लोग उसमें और पूरा और लगा, कुछ कुछ इसमें तो ये होते हैं शुरू से ही, मतलब बस मसाला लगाने वाले होते हैं।
हम्म,
तो नहीं, सही बोल रहा हूँ। चलो, ठीक है, फिफ्टी
ठीक
एट
है,
फोर्टी सिक्स राइट टाइम टू डिस्कनेक्ट। ठीक है, तो हम
हाँ,
तुमको भेजते हैं। ठीक है,
चलो,
फिगर आउट करते
ओके।
हैं कि कैसे भेजते हैं। ठीक है।
रुको, तो इसको तुम अपना सेपरेटली वो कर लो, हम तुमको फिर कॉल करते हैं।
हाँ
अच्छा, ये
हाँ,
तुम्हारे
कॉल करो।
लैपटॉप पे है या फोन पे
नहीं
है?
नहीं नहीं, फोन पे ही है, कॉल कर लो,
अच्छा,
हम
तो
इसको, ये हम
अच्छा,
ही करते हैं, हम ही करते हैं, हम करते हैं।
हाँ तुम करो, ठीक है, ओके,
ए,
चलो बाय।